a lot of times I do a design or something and then a celebrity wears it. And maybe that design has been alive for years. And suddenly, because of someone that is kind of more known in that time and space, because celebrities come in and out, uh, it wears it, suddenly everyone loves it. And in the back of my head, I have this toxic trait of thinking, you should have liked it first.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Designing Tomorrow, your guide to sustainable entrepreneurship. And today I'm here with Kanishka, my co host. How are you feeling today?
Hi guys, namaste. I'm Kanishka. I'm so happy and so glad to be back with Anne. This is our fifth episode. Last week we focused on launching. Now we're focusing on marketing and AI. And guess what? Who we have? Nange Magro. If you don't know about her, please just go on your Instagram right now and search Dead Lotus Couture. You'll be amazed to witness how she collaborates, networks, how she markets her brand. It's basically a luxury women's wear brand specializing in latex. And it is sustainable. So we have Nange. Nange, how are you?
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to see you and for introduction as well.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit more about Dead Lotus Couture, your journey?
Yeah, so I created the Lotus Couture, I would say almost 10 years ago, a bit more, from zero. And I basically specialize in making latex and having digital designs because I always had the love for softwares and technologies. In fact, my master's degree was in London College of Fashion for digital fashion, which was a master's degree only lasted like 3 years. So I think, I just went in the pocket, and then after that I went into electronics, trying to develop different projects with fashion and electronics and wearables. And after that, during my year of master, I discovered the material latex and I fell in love with it. And after that I decided to create my own brand, try the route of entrepreneurship, and that's where we are now.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it must be like very different from you, from a student to entrepreneur. So, how do you feel about like this transitioning?
I think what is very interesting is that as a student, you feel like you know everything a lot of times when you don't at all.
Yeah.
So I think with the age and with the experience, you realize how much more patient you have to be and how much things you don't know. I think that's very important. You always learn. So I think that's the part that you should always approach everything with an open eye and thinking, what can I learn from this? What is this experience? There is always so much more you can
Yeah.
do. And I think that's the approach you should have in any part of your life. And I think that's a lesson that the world always reminds you of.
Yeah. But what's very interesting in your journey is also that you are a tutor here at Digital Learning Lab. So how did that happen?
It happened that, let's say, I've been doing the Lotus Couture for so long. And at one point, during the pandemic, everyone had a bit of like a life crisis. Like, what am I doing? What is this? Am I happy? What's happening? And after that, I remember, some of the people I knew from here, from the study, that now, they're part of the management, and they were asking me multiple times to be part of some events and things like that. And I thought, what if I explore the side of me that is a bit more giving, which is, the teaching part and being in contact with students. And I think every person that have their own business, they know how lonely that road is. Even if you work with so many people, at the end of the day, you always feel it's you against the world in some way. So I think I had a moment where I wasn't feeling inspired anymore. I was feeling stuck a bit in a loop. And I thought, try to explore different routes, which one of those was also to come to school and giving back a little bit, and having, something that will give you a bit of a routine as well. I think it helps on many different ways. And, meeting new people and also seeing the students, listening and changing is really inspiring. And having this kind of view of the world that you kind of forget after so many years of being a professional,
Yeah.
I think is really good to be a perspective of like, oh, this is how I felt when I was at that stage, and you try to take it and relieve it again and give you energies to keep going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned that you discovered latex in master
Mm-hmm.
stage, so and it now has become the highlight of your brand, right?
Yeah.
So like why latex? Like how special this material is?
So my project in the master degree was electronic dress. Was the first electronic dress that you could control with your mind. So I was using the electroencephalographic scan in order to change the shape and the lights of the dress. But part of that project was also about using sustainable materials and recycled materials. And one of those natural materials I wanted to experiment with was latex. And when I started to use it and realized that you glue it instead of sewing, which I do like sewing, but I also find it very stressful.
Yeah, of
The
course.
idea, the machine, and like as soon as you get something wrong, is very quickly all fucked up.
Yeah.
And then you spend the next 2 hours unpicking your thing. I always
Yeah.
find it so stressful.
Yeah.
So in small doses, I like the making with the normal fabric. But then when I discovered latex, which you do glue, you don't have a machine, it's everything handmade, I find it so much more relaxing to work with and natural. And, I think it's like what I can compare it with coming from the world of art, because I did art school before.
Yes.
You can see as an artist, for example, some people are very good with the watercolors. Some
Yes.
people are very good with, oil painting.
Yeah.
And it's just a different tool. It's just a different way. So I feel like for me, it's more natural to do something like that than the sewing machine. For others, they're much better in doing sewing machine, and for them it's easier. So I found my path in that direction. And I love the look. I love the fact that it's very edgy.
Yes.
I love the material itself. Since I was a child, I think I was a bit attracted to anything rubbery and shiny. So I kind of make sense after I realize, I'm still not bored of it. So I guess it makes sense for me.
Yeah.
At the same time, I do also like classic fabric and different materials, and I like to integrate them anyway with the brand at the same time. So I'm not neglecting that side.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So I've noticed going on your social media and your website that you play around a lot with AI. How did that happen? And you teach AI here in DLL at LTF as well. So how did that happen with you?
The relationship I have with the AI is a love and hate, I have to say. Because coming from the world of traditional and, making everything with my hands, and in the brand I created, I do everything. And for so many years, I did everything just on my own. So between the pattern making and actually making it myself, so without having a factory. But what I always integrated and what I always had, it was the love for softwares and digital. Therefore, in the brand, in a lot of communication, like in social media or like on the website, I use a lot of softwares to have a 3D, let's say, mock-up of what your design is, between choosing the colors, and it helps, with customs and bespoke items as well, and showcasing the design in a different way that you would do with traditional photography, which I do as well, in the sense, like I'm passionate about photography. And we do shoot with models, we do shoot on the mannequin, but I also integrate softwares. And obviously, in the last few years, if you are passionate about, anything digital or technologies, AI was talked about even years and years before. So I always found it fascinating how society evolves and what are the next things. Being a bit nerdy, obviously, is something that you feel attracted to discover what's going to happen, And AI was clearly on the path. So I would say it was a mix of being interested and passionate about it, and at the same time being scared. So my reaction every time I feel overwhelmed or scared of something is trying to know more about it and understanding why am I feeling like that, and what can I do about it? Is it actually like that? And is everything gonna be dying, or everything is doom, or it's fine? So due to that kind of interest, then I started to research more and understand more what AI meant, especially as a creative, because you feel attacked. If you're a creative person, the use of AI, you really feel like you've been robbed of your creativity in a lot of ways and skills, because like me, I had to really analyze the thing and thinking I spent so many years of my life refining my craft and creativity and who I am, the sense of identity, everything. And then suddenly you feel like anyone can do anything in a click of a button.
Yeah.
And my sense of justice was like, this is not fair, which is not fair, So I thought, what can I do to change this? And I think it's something that everyone should think about it. What each person, individual, can do in order to make sure that our future is a good future for everyone, and it's not something that is exploitative. It's not something that is, always revolve around not paying someone or around, enslave, working force. And I think that was where my, let's say, passion for it came through. Trying to learn the tools and what was happening, where the curve of evolution in our society was going. And then the more I learned the tools, the more I realized, like this can be actually something is really helpful for independent artists, for independent and business people. Not coming from a family of certain means. I don't come from a rich family. I don't come from a family that was already integrated in the fashion world, which if you're in the fashion world, 80% of the people are people with a bit of nepotism, which is fine. That's not the problem. But if you are aware that you are not one of those people, you need to find means in order to be able to help you. And your means is, or I'm rich, or I have, foundings, or I have some safety net, or I know already people. If you don't, you need to spend time of your life in order to have more work, in order to sell yourself, in order to market yourself. So you need to be smart about it, because you only have 24 hours in a day. You don't have money to pay a whole team. You don't have money to be in certain spaces. So you need to work harder in order to do that, and smarter. So one of those things I realized about AI is to be able to use certain tools and not neglecting the fact that I am a creative, or I don't know the traditional ways, to how to integrate it, knowing the certain pipeline. How can I optimize all of this, and how I can, explore and give myself more time to explore my vision, rather than spending 5 million hours, just trying to do one task that, even something simple like there are now AI tools for meetings where you just record in them, and at the same time they can put down all the notes of the meeting and a summary of it, and you have a record of it. And something that before, you had to go with a notebook and then thinking and then sending the emails and then thinking, it takes hours. And if you are a creative person, most of the times this is something that you need to put even more work into it, because it doesn't come natural to you, know. Like the sense of business is something you really have to learn. And sometimes it's just question of having a little tool that can help you. And even creatively, if you think about, like I need to create this thing, instead of Googling and you have a precise idea, every creative person knows, like if you have a precise vision of something, Google is useless almost, because you're thinking, I can't have, I don't know, like this thing with this thing mixed with the other thing, but I want to see if it actually is something that can be explored. And then you spend so much time researching and sketching and doing things, and it goes nowhere. But with AI, you can directly see a mood board, create a mood board visually, and thinking, actually, no, I'm going to do something better than that. And these things are the ways that I feel it helps, and then you create new things. But where I see the wrong into it, and I think it's very important to always have a talk, is to the exploitation side of AI, and the fact that it's been trained in a certain ways, and it needs to have a legislation. And the problem is that we live in a system that is very old, and then before that things catch up, it takes too long, and technology is so fast, and there is no time, because generations like yours, they need to be, looked after. Because what do you do after if everyone, can steal anything? And
there's no policy. There's no policy.
There is no policy. There is no awareness too, and that's the problem. I think it's important to be objective about it and understand it. And in order to do that, you need to research, you need to do it and use it. So the way, for example, I use it, as I said, in meetings, or like I use it in mood boards, or I use it like sometimes I use Stable Diffusion. I do a sketch and then I see how kind of interpret it, and I think like, is it exactly like that? Or sometimes if I do a sketch, I don't have the time, because especially with celebrities and certain projects, they want the thing to yesterday. So you need to send something to LA tomorrow, and what are you doing? And you already working on other 2 projects at the same time. So to have something quick, what you can do, like sometimes I don't have the time of shading something, so I elaborated in AI to have all the shadings, and then I redraw parts of it and I reshade parts of it, but I don't have to recolor everything from zero. You know what I mean? Or and I started to do this kind of pipelines already doing digital. So knowing how to do things traditionally, and then I thought there are certain parts that can be much quicker if I have a 3D model of a garment. Even the colors I can showcase, if you see the Lotus Couture page, you have the same design with so many different colors. If I had to do that from scratch and make every item, some outfits can take 5-10 hours. What if I want to have showcase a variation of colors that we have available that are 10 colors? I can't. And our items you're not going to sell. You're wasting material, you're wasting time, you're wasting energies, and then all these samples, what happens? They're not sold. So I can use the digital pipeline in order to recreate my designs in 3D and showcasing in different colors, even with different sizes, so I can be all inclusive. I have a client in plus size, I have a client that has a different shape. I can recreate their body and be like, this is how it looks like on you, and they can be happy about it, or not. Is something that helps you. You're not dictated by the tools, but is you using the tools. And I think it's the same thing with AI. So the way I use it is more like a tool rather than a final product, And I think that's what at the moment is the Wild West. So everyone is trying to do everything. Everyone is trying to make money from it in unethical ways. And I think is where people as a community should step up. And that comes out with each individual person being conscious about it and do something about it, which it means kind of embracing it to certain levels and then pushing for legislations and pushing yourself to use it in ethical ways.
It appears to me that your passion is from a constant questioning to the nature of the world, or a lot of topics in the society, but at the same time your product or your work is very popular in the public spaces. So how do you react to that popularity to your own work, from a personal side to become a public thing? How do you react to it? Is it naturally you predict it, or it's just come with no?
No, it's a very good question, because it's a struggle that you live constantly, as a creative as well. I want to do the most crazy shit. But then you need to leave, you need to, compromise. And a lot of times what I find myself frustrated in is I might create the most meaningful for me piece of design or art, and then people come and ask you, oh my gosh, I love so much, you're the top, blah blah blah, and it's a simple shirt and or a pair of gloves, and you're thinking, bloody hell, I put my soul and blood into this. And then another example, is the fact that a lot of times I do a design or something and then a celebrity wears it. And maybe that design has been alive for years. And suddenly, because of someone that is kind of more known in that time and space, because celebrities come in and out, it wears it, suddenly everyone loves it. And in the back of my head, I have this toxic trait of thinking, you should have liked it first. Because the value of the things I feel is the love and the meaning I put into it is not because it's been a blingy mirror for the world, And I think it depends on the type of person you are. I know a lot of artists that they do things to communicate because they want to they want to have this interaction with the world. To me, I have two sides. Sometimes, the way for me that communication comes into the world when I create the catwalks with let's say performance piece, or like creating a show. That's when I'm ready to communicate with the audience, or my path. The other way, I'm much more egoist with what I do. I don't care about the audience. I care about my journey, because I feel like that's genuine. I can't back up things I don't believe in, like politically, or as a person, I can't give something to the world that I don't fully believe in. And that comes with a price. A lot of times I also question myself, because the world is not always a nice place. But I feel like it's a constant struggle of thinking as a brand, and something that you need to live in a society where you need to sell a product and you need to be smart about it. I know there are certain things that needs to go, and there are certain things that if you want to sell, obviously you need to have a basic collection. To me, that's work. That's like working in an office, even if it is also working in an office, because there is a side where you work in an office that no one sees on Instagram, yeah. But you have that part that is laborious. You do the same thing all the time, like even on TikTok and stuff like that. People don't see the things behind. Most of the social media content on the TikTok I do is 4 o'clock in the morning, just before the deadline. Who wants to film a bloody TikTok? I don't, and I try to don't look like I'm hating life, because obviously I do enjoy it. There are moments like everyone else where you're like, I don't want to do this. Why am I doing it? Why am I a slave of an algorithm? Where I should be able to be free and just making art. If I want to make an outfit that the next year is completely out of line, and I don't need to think about someone buying it, why do I have to worry about this? But it is work. So you need to understand, you also have responsibility for other people as a business, and it's not just you, and you have responsibility for society. So there are certain things, and as a product, I think there are things where I can develop what I want to do, and being an artist, and there are other things I do that are much more simple, more wearable, and I try to compensate the superficial side that I don't like about the business in a way that is more about communicating, and to have a certain type of clients that understand also the artistic side. And then I have, clients that have different type of lifestyles. Obviously, I'm very much part of the queer community, and I'm obviously a part of the minority, and being biracial as well, I'm always aware of representation in certain ways, and I think it's important to find a meaning in all these things, even in the things that you feel are meaningless, and that's what keeps me going on. But it's a journey, so sometimes I have those days like, what am I doing? There are so many wars in the world, and I'm here thinking about what outfit I have to create for this celebrity for tomorrow, and no one is. It's not important. But it's good to have that mindset too, because it keeps you in check of thinking, I'm going to die tomorrow if this thing, cause it's normal to be, if you care about what you're doing. At the same time, you have the struggle of thinking, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saving anyone's life. It's just fashion. You should just have fun, and be conscious about it, the message you give, and giving it a meaning. That's why it's important. And I think the new generations are much more like that. And I find it so refreshing. Because before I would have to fight for my life to explain to people about my business and say, I think about this trend and I like this business. I want to sell. But my problem is also I want to communicate the struggle of these people. Or I want to communicate my struggles in mental health or body dysmorphia, or any type of struggle that there are in the world. That's why I think it's important to be also political. Like on Instagram, I do repost the things, I think it's good to inform people about what's happening in the world. Otherwise, you're in your cocoon, and then you have the Hunger Games going on.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to know your perspective, because I feel that you're so resilient. Just so resilient, because doing all of that, I'm sure you make it sound easy, but the journey clearly must be up and down, must be a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's quite challenging, but if I did it, I'm sure a lot of people can do
Can
it.
do it.
I think.
Amazing. Speaking about celebrities,
Yes.
Rihanna, Cardi B, Britney Spears, Madonna, I can keep going on. You have almost worked with so many people, collaborations with Tinder. I don't know. I can't even recall so many things, so many people. I want to know, how did you go about it? And also, is there like a funny story that you can share, something that happened that, maybe in your work, maybe a deadline, maybe with your outfits that someone wore? Any interesting story that happened?
Yes. So okay. Um, I think it's important to say that there isn't a recipe, and I think everyone is different at the same time. And especially because we are in a context of a school, what's important to think and to keep in mind is that there isn't a pipeline for things. So as an individual, you need to find your own ways, because the world doesn't give you a recipe. The world is not step one, you do this, step two, do that. And if people do, it's a scam. So don't give money to people that say stuff like that. I think what's important is to keep your goal in mind and understanding also your nature, what you want to do. Because I think the tricky side is that everyone wants to have a certain type of business, everyone wants to work with celebrities, everyone wants to do that. But I can assure you, once you are into it, it's not flowers and roses. And I think it's like entrepreneurship is the same way. Everyone wants to be until they realize that you have to work 24/7 and you have nothing else, just that, and you're alone. And it's an industry where there is a certain pace, and it really eats you alive energetically, and it's very rewarding at the same time. So there are obviously beautiful sides of it. And what makes you, let's say, successful about it is, as we mentioned, resilience. So if you give up, you're not going to go anywhere. And at the same time, having a consistency on who you are and what you do. And I think what's important is to find your voice and showcasing it. I had to work so many years on myself, because I'm both introverted and extroverted. And when my introverted side comes up, you can't move me from home. Like, I don't want to speak with anyone. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to do anything. And I had to work very hard in order to be able to be outgoing in any situation, pushing myself to go to events, pushing myself in being present online. And I think what the beauty of social media, and one of the things I really like about it, is that it creates this world where anyone can be, accessible to anyone. And I think what I built a strong portfolio of my work, and I wasn't afraid to showcase it. I think that's very important. And through social media, you can really showcase whatever you do, right? And being aware of, obviously how it works with the algorithm and everything. So in terms of my own experience, what I would suggest is to have the best portfolio you can get, by be truthful to yourself, because you can have the best portfolio and then it's not you're going to be stuck on it. That's what you have to do. If you, let's say you're a designer and you hate working with denim, but all your portfolio, because you think denim is trendy, you do only denim, your career is stuck on denim, and everyone is going to ask you for denim, and that's a nightmare of a life. So you need to understand what you are, and experiment with everything, showcasing it as much as you can. And I think in my case, what was successful is that no one was doing latex as I was doing. I started to do, the hats like that. There were some glimpses, there were some brands that were very good, but they were much of an older approach to it, to the design as well. It was much more male gaze oriented. I think there was maybe like one brand, it was two brands that I liked. And I thought, like, why do I like these brands than the others one? I don't like it at all, And the world of latex is very tricky. So I think it's time and place, and at the same time, trying, don't be afraid to reach at people. I think is something that even now I struggle, People are always surprised to realize sometimes I feel insecure about sending an email. I think it's normal, but the fear is not the problem; it's what you do about it, right? So I see a lot of people that they get stuck, like, oh, I can't contact that person because they will never reply, and so, okay, you contact 100 more. Two people are gonna reply, and those two people maybe are not the right people, but then they see your work, and then they're like, oh, I remember that. So I think having your identity, your strong portfolio, people see the good work, they realize you have a good work, being reliable, being professional. If I have a deadline, that's the deadline. I'm not going to be flaky about it. I'm going to deliver a good product, I'm going to deliver a service, I'm there 100%. I do everything for it. And I also, what I learned, not being taken advantage of. That's something that everyone does in this business, and I hate it. There is no budget. How can you tell me $1 billion tour doesn't have a budget? Yeah, it's because you exploit people, and because there are other people that dive into it. So if everyone would be like, no, you pay me. And obviously you need to be aware, if you start, you're not going to be paid like someone that has 10 years experience, but you need to have some retribution in some way. And if you don't, obviously if are other creatives or other businesses that they're struggling, so you help each other, right? And I think it's good to defend yourself, it's good to put yourself out there. And I think is good, especially in the world of celebrities, what you need to learn is to let's say be present in different parts of the world, depending on your target, depending on what you want to do. Because some celebrities are the celebrities you don't want, right? Like, or if you are in a certain business, like I'm more into the entertainment business, right? Where is it? LA. So obviously I had to travel more to LA. I need to be more present in there, the designs. Like, I'm from Milan. I was born and raised in Milan, yeah. Obviously I try to go around, and showcase my pieces, and is awareness, which comes with marketing, which comes with, I think, as a natural introverted person, is more for me social media. That's where it came more about, and getting the designs out there, so you find places and people, and then you showcase your work and things like that. Sometimes it's hard because I'm the first person not to go. If I go in a party, everyone is networking, I'm the one in the corner with my drink most of the times, so but I had to find ways to be able to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna try to understand who is who. I still struggle. I don't know most of the celebrities, to be honest. Even, my assistant and other people, every time is like, wow, you don't know this person that is contacting us that they want to work? Like, no, who are they? And I'm not a celebrity-minded people. So to me, people are all the same, and it doesn't matter and they come and go. So if you are as a professional, obviously I recognize you and I know you're very good. I respect you, but it's not my daily bread. So a lot of times I don't know, and I think I constantly work to be able to be aware who is good as an endorsement too, because there are some celebrities I don't want them to wear my stuff, right? So I need to know. And a lot of times I rely also on other people and ask, do you know this person? Do you know who this is? Or obviously social media is great because it's an open portfolio about everyone. Now with a lot of experience, even with people that work for me or with me, I look at the profile and I'm like, this person has some issues. They're not going to be reliable, or obviously it's not a rule for every time, but you kind of understand this is how they communicate, or this person is very private. For the other thing, that's what I need. That's what I want to share. That's where I feel more free about it. So I think if you want to create your own brand and your own things, you need to find your way, have a strong portfolio, have a work ethic, being respected. So don't be taken advantage of. And network comes in many way of forms. Before I always thought like I have to go everywhere, but I'm not that person. I have some days where I'm super extroverted and I love meeting people all day, but then if I do the fashion week, after 1 week I'm dead for a month. because it's a constant event, meeting people, getting change, blah, 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 blah. And I realized I can't do it all the time, you know. So you need to find your own ways. My way, being a bit more introverted and like in technology, like in, you know, social media, is more through that channel, you know, and to meeting people that are professional in their own cities, you know, in that place. So if I go somewhere for work and they book me, and I did styling as well, so if they book me for as a stylist, I, you know, I meet people, and then I'm like, oh, you know, I have these designs, you know, can you keep them? What can we do? Like, I think being genuine is what really goes a long way, because being on my own, I like to work with friends, and I make friends with work.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be able to work with people I don't appreciate or I don't have fun with. And I have this privilege to think like, I don't want to work with that person. I'm just not gonna work with that person. You know. And if you're genuine, celebrities feel it, because they're surrounded by fake people all the time, so they know, you know, who is a vampire and who is not.
That's interesting.
So last but not least, do you have any advices or tips for like someone who wants to study digital fashion or want to join the industries?
I think, you know, the most important tips is to do everything you can.
Yes.
Experiment constantly with different softwares, because one software is here one day, tomorrow is not going to be there. But the most important thing is that you remain the same and your way to work is the same. So, you know, it's being constant. And obviously it's okay to take breaks. Obviously it's okay to feel lost. But if you have a goal in mind, you keep going, and you need to experiment with different softwares. It's the same with AI. And I know it's overwhelming with AI. You know, you have every day so many tools coming in. It's too much. Our brain can't process it. But if you go step by step and little by little, if you do today, you know, one thing is better than never doing it, right?
Yes.
So I think as a new designer, try to feel less overwhelmed, even if it's nearly impossible nowadays, but to do a little thing and be always doing something, not stopping, you know. And even if you do something for a few days, you don't like it, okay, do something else, right? And I think that's the tools, the softwares are the same thing. If you use, you know, Blender, if you use Marvelous, if you use Crow 3D, if you use, that's why if someone asks me what's the best, I can say what's the best for me, but I suggest that it's not the best for everyone, you know. Like a lot of things that I do, other designers I know don't do. But it doesn't mean, it's like when you play guitar, the way I play is not the same way someone else play, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just the way I do it, right? And I think it's applying with all the softwares as well. The only way to know is to try it yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap. It was so insightful. I almost felt that I am so behind because my master's is ending and I am very behind in my learning for AI. I mean, what can we do? It's like a lifelong learning process, though.
It's okay, and you will. I think that's the secret.
Yeah.
You will always be behind.
Oh wow, that's actually that's really nice. That line is you will always be behind.
Yeah.
So, well, that's a takeaway, guys. Don't be overworked because you will always be behind. So just
that's right.
just chill.
I mean,
in
I
the moment
you all the time. So
yeah, that's
it's
normal.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's a wrap. And thank you, Nange, for giving so much of your time and insights. And guys, that's a wrap for our series, Designing Tomorrow. We will have one more episode coming soon. But for a sit down and a casual conversation, I think this was it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Thank you.